Hello, and welcome to the Horoscope Vault, a show that explores life through the lens of astrology, with a view to supporting you throughout the crazy ups and downs of existence and helping you make your most confident decisions through each of life's chapters. I'm Charlie, an associate member of the American Federation of Astrologers and astrology reader for radio's The Bob and Sherry Show. This episode is your week ahead forecast, beginning April the 20th. And it's a busy week astrologically, and because of recent retrograde motion, some of the planetary aspects this week have already occurred multiple times within a short time frame, where the experience was first during the original forward motion, again during the retrograde path, and once more activated aspects show up this week upon returning to direct. This recurrence, when an aspect happens like 2 or 3 times, creates a layered unfolding of a particular theme. And it's basically a situation in your life that you've been waiting for, that has been dragged out. And that's what this week is all about. It's the third and final point of this layering process where 3 moments in time all have something in common. Use this episode to help you make connections between January the 11th, April the 8th, and April the 20th of this year to see what it all means. The magic of astrology, and the part that often gets mistaken for being woo-woo, is its predictive power. And the truth is actually simple. Your future is shaped by your choices. Therefore, by recognizing the patterns that are on repeat in your life and looking at how you handle them, and also not just that, but also electing to repeat certain patterns on purpose for a specific outcome. It's having that kind of cyclical awareness that can help you refine the way you make decisions, allowing you to either guide the future in a direction you prefer, manifesting and creating based on what you want, or at the very least, it's just you knowing your patterns and cycles and the possibilities within those that can help you move towards the future with understanding and confidence. So, astrology is the study of planetary patterns, and the art is in using their timing to gain insight into patterns of your own. You don't need any more depth or awareness on patterns of the 24-hour clock. You just don't. You know when you should sleep, you know when you should eat, you know when you should awake, you know when you feel like you have the most energy, the least energy. I think we've got the 24-hour clock kind of somewhat nailed. I mean, there's definitely a biorhythmical clock outside of that where some people can stay up later, some people can rise earlier, some people can eat once, some people need to eat 3 times. And that's like the micro management of time based on an individualized perspective and analysis. And the study of the planets is like a macro version because you live within this vast, intricate universe where countless rhythms are constantly at play, some unseen, some unheard, and some are even undetectable without equipment. You know, this reminds me of those videos. Have you ever seen those videos where sand is placed on top of a speaker and a sound or frequency is played and you watch the sand jump around and the vibration from the music creates a visible pattern? And it's not just any pattern, it's like geometric. It's very pleasant patterns. And it was Nikola Tesla that said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, which is cymatics. Cymatics is the study of visualizing audio frequencies by observing the patterns they create on vibrating surfaces. So when sound waves interact with sand, or with water, as it's sometimes used, they cause visible patterns to form. And when we say something has a frequency, we literally talk about how often it happens in time. So for sound, this is how many vibrations per second. For life, it's more about how regularly a situation, dynamic, or an emotional loop repeats. these repeated situations are patterns, and the timing of their occurrence reveals their frequency. I'm actually saying frequency so many times it's about to lose all meaning. So I'm going to get to the point before it does lose meaning. If you've ever experienced relationships that always end around the 2 or 3 or a certain year mark, or if you've ever heard someone else say, so and so can't keep a job, they're always changing their job so frequently, or if you know someone who moves house or city every couple years, what if every November you get sick? What if you always attract people with some kind of drama, or you attract people who never excite you? If you recognize a pattern and deem this pattern frequent in yours or someone else's life, then let that be confirmation that this is not just random behavior. You are witnessing a life pattern, and that pattern often mirrors larger cycles in eras of time and all of the choices made along the way. Astrology looks for patterns of time based on the whole universe, not just the 24-hour day, the 7 days a week, the 30 some days a month. It looks at it based on the whole universe because, we didn't just pop up out of nowhere as a species. We evolved over time, and you may, like me, feel that the defined orbit cycles of other planets and their concept of time is really, really fascinating. What could we learn by expanding our understanding of time beyond our current patterns and cycles? It's once you make connections with your own rhythms or any other pattern that affects you somehow that something then clicks. Timing becomes clearer, repeating themes gain context, and the why behind certain seasons of your life becomes more apparent. Just like this week's first aspect, Venus, which is now direct, it's been direct since the weekend. Venus in Pisces sextile Uranus in Taurus. This happens at 25 degrees of their respective signs. This is the third time that this aspect has happened since January, since this aspect has locked in this exact sextile pattern. The first was January 26th, the second April 8th, and the third and final lock-in is this week on April 20th. So hit pause on the show if you need to. Scroll through your screenshots and photos. Check your emails, check your text messages for each of those date timeframes. January 26th, April the 8th. And take a minute to investigate your life for the common thread between those times. And look for something, I'd say look for something unusual. Look for something love related or monetary themed from January that then went kind of quiet February and March and is now gaining traction again this month. It gives this feeling that something exciting has been brewing, and April 20th is the final moment where the exciting thing now comes into play for real. The transition into materialization for whatever it is that has been developing across those dates. And it was something that you hadn't expected. It was something that maybe you kind of knew about over time, but you've put to the back of your mind, forgotten about, or just something that you had lost faith in. And this week features a lot of these returning aspects where initially a theme was introduced, a retrograde brought a review, and then the third and final pass is the point of integration. Aspects happening like this are a built-in feedback loop in the planetary cycle. It's just allowing you more time when processing a comprehensive situation or decision. The repetition intensifies the experience. It stretches out the lesson. It makes it feel like deja vu, or like something has been going on forever and ever, even though it's just been a few months. And it can be a bit of a mind mess to follow sometimes. Like this Venus-Uranus sextile, which has been introducing a romantic or a food related or a financial development, financial project to your life. It's been introducing this since mid to late January. And this is a topic that likely wasn't really on your mind at the turn of the new year, back early January 1st, 2025. So, yes, hit pause, take a look back, look for something that was first brought to your attention at some point in January. It may have come as a surprise or a development that was slightly unexpected, something you weren't planning, something you were not prepared for. And I would say it's also something pleasant, given that Venus is involved. And so now this week, that situation is showing serious signs of reaching clarity and being integrated for real. It's the finalization point. Venus sextile Uranus completes for a short while until next time, and is then followed by Mercury in Aries sextile Pluto in Aquarius. Happening on the same day, April 20th, this position is raw, bold, unfiltered, and instinctive. It carries the feeling of having learned something the hard way in the past or from the past. It's not necessarily because you were wrong, but it's maybe because you were just thrown into a situation in the deep end, or you were unaware of something. And now it's the realization that your energy is valuable and you don't have to pour it outwards unless you feel safe to do so. There's a little bit of survival wisdom that's present. And the message here is knowing that you don't need to sacrifice your own security in order to save somebody else. So, zooming out, looking at it so far, just between these two aspects, both happening Monday, it points to this picture of an unexpected development that brings you some form of security, emotional, financial, energetic, or just a sense of validation. This security and validation is something similar to what you have had and experienced before that maybe you lost, but this time you're handling that stability, security, the romance energy differently. So it might be an opportunity to receive or accumulate something meaningful and stabilizing in your money, health, romance, your plans for the future, receiving the stability without giving it away or without squandering the blessings impulsively, like maybe you had done in the past. And this week, Mercury and Pluto working together might suggest signing, documenting, agreeing, or formalizing something life-changing this week. On the same day, another aspect adds even more intensity. The Sun in Taurus square Mars in Leo, and this aspect brings a push-pull dynamic. It's the real challenge of the saying, put your money where your mouth is. So it's this point where something materializes, and then everything that you thought you would do when that moment came is now tested in real time. It could be an opportunity, a relationship, a commitment, the receipt of some resources, and now you're in the position to prove yourself. This is testing your long-term stability-based intentions versus your in the moment impulse. So it's like if you've been saying for months, if I just had a little extra money, then I would pay off that debt. And then this bonus hits your account, and instead of logging on to pay the debt, you treat yourself to a new outfit, to going out for dinner, maybe a little bit of a splurge on Amazon, your favorite online store, whatever, which is not quite what you said in the original plan. Or maybe it's something like you've told yourself, when I finally get a break from work, when I get some time to myself, I'm going to rest, I'm going to reset, I'm going to spring clean, I'm going to self-care. And then you get a chunk of time off, and that time off arrives, and then before you know it, you've said yes to a dinner, a coffee, back-to-back plans, and you've filled that space with distractions, never actually getting round to the R&R. Or it's like you've been saying, if I get some extra time in the mornings, I'm going to start journaling, yes, or I'm going to start meditating and setting intentions to set up the day ahead. But then when you do get those extra morning minutes, you wind up scrolling social media and whittling that time away. The Sun in Taurus in a hard-hitting, challenging square with Mars in Leo. It's all about the gap between intention and instinct, and how you can gently catch yourself in the act of not sticking to your original intentions. And then you can laugh a little bit and you can have a joke about it, and then you can get back to what you originally said you would do with the extra funds, the extra awareness, the extra time. And that it's okay to enjoy the moment. You can do the fun things as long as you truly honor your original intention the most. So ask yourself today, because it really matters this week, if everything you've been wanting or waiting for, if it just landed in your lap, can you show up in the way that you said you would once that particular moment arrives? Can you make good on your word? Or will you get carried over by impulse? When you're just starting out with learning astrology, understanding these aspects is overwhelming. It's like reading a map in a language you were never taught. There's so much information and so little consistent guidance on how to actually connect these dots. And I think that you should be able to check your natal chart each morning if you want to. And I think you should actually be able to comprehend what it means for you if you were to say, wake up and understand that you might veer off track, and that sticking to your intentions in the case of this aspect is the most important. I think it would be so awesome of a world where people can do that for themselves with all this individualized living. So I have created a set of tiers on my Patreon channel sharing astrology in a way that makes it easier to absorb, integrate, and actually use. And then you can follow these transits along in the show, or you can do it yourself and maybe even use the timing technique to start analyzing and deciphering them, being prepared for those days where you may get carried away by impulse. The week's next challenging aspect is April 23rd. It's another challenge in the form of a square aspect, but this time it's the Sun in Taurus, square to Pluto in Aquarius. So it does have that same friction meets growth kind of feel, but just with a different flavor. This is about self-sufficiency versus energy depletion and learning where to stop overgiving, especially when it costs you your own stability. You might be really hyper aware of how quickly you get drained when you try to carry someone else's load. You've probably been in situations before where somebody else's crisis somehow became your responsibility. And, you went along with it and you helped, of course, even though it left you depleted. Now you feel this tension of wanting to show up, but it might not be okay to do so. The point is knowing that it's okay for you to say not this time. This aspect says that there might be an expectation from others, and maybe it's something simple. Maybe you finally have a little extra money or time or emotional capacity, and somebody expects for you to give it or to share it with them. But with this square, instead of instantly giving it, try another approach. Try purposely hesitating before answering. If you hesitate from saying yes, it's not because you don't care. It's because you're learning to check in with yourself first. This is about asking, does this actually support you, or will this leave you without? And my guess, based on the aspect, is that it very well may leave you without. And so this might be a time to say no to the requests of other people. April 24th, Venus in Pisces, conjunct Saturn in Pisces. Another aspect that's happened more than once in this sign combination in recent weeks. And again, this is the third chapter in an ongoing story that has been unfolding. This has a very similar rhythm pattern to the Venus-Uranus aspect that opens the week. So the first Venus-Saturn conjunction in Pisces formed on January 19th, and then a key turning point, it formed again on April 7th, and now it's finalizing this week on April 24th. And do you notice how these dates are so close to the pattern dates of the first aspect? So far the run of dates and this kind of cycle we've got going on January the 19th, the earlier mentioned date of January 26th, April 7th, the earlier mentioned date of April 8th, April 20th, and then April 24th. So it's this real feel that something was intensifying in January and that you are now navigating the final checkpoint of this development. Venus meeting Saturn this week says that survival isn't just about getting through, it's about learning to continue to thrive hereafter, but doing so in places and ways that no one else can see. This energy is deep, it's emotional, it's silent, it's kind of private, with strength in quiet moments, not the flashy ones. So your recent development that might turn out to be a beneficial development to you could well be something that you shouldn't overly share with others. It is vital to regenerate yourself first after experiencing a little bit of an up and down roller coaster time that you really need to bounce back from or elevate through. This week seems to indicate finding peace where there used to be pain, but also noticing within yourself any fear of losing that peace again now that you've regained it. Venus and Saturn together speak of commitment, structure, maturity. And without those, this pleasantness that you gain won't endure for the long term. It won't carry on. You'll find yourself in the same cycle, losing that again without commitment, structure, and maturity until things go full cycle, full pattern. And so the value right now is in whatever it is you gain to not overgive it elsewhere, to not squander, to not react on impulse with the benefits that are coming your way, and put yourself healthily first and look at long-term value. So this could be anything from getting a second chance at a relationship. And it's just that this time you're not going to rush it. You're not afraid to ask for emotional clarity or boundaries. And love is pleasant, but you know that self-worth within that is also necessary. Or it could be receiving unexpected financial stability. So a gift, a loan, a refund, an inheritance, a payout. And in the past, you might have spent the extra, or you might have been giving it away, trying to fix or support or impress someone else. But this time you hold on to it. You save, you plan, you secure your own true needs first. Finishing the week on April 26th, Mars in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius is yet another recurring aspect, making this week feel like a real turning point. It is wild to me how all of these aspects hit their third final pass on the same week. It's not like staggered or scattered. There wasn't one last week, one this week, one next week. This is just frequency at work and this big crescendo happening this week. And so the Mars-Pluto opposition brings a lot of intensity. And as always, with all oppositions, it will be something activated through your interaction with others. So there is another person clearly involved. You find yourself face to face with someone or something that challenges your drive, your will, or your need to lead yourself your own way. In a clash of independence versus transformation happening on the external level, it makes April 26th a highly dynamic day. Maybe somebody tries to tell you what to do like they know best. Or maybe you're trying to avoid a connection with someone that is unmistakably potent. Mars in Leo is about bold, independent action. So someone might be a little bit overbearing, but it's also this idea that you don't want to wait for consensus. You just want to lead, go ahead on your own terms. And then there's Pluto in Aquarius, this degree on the opposite side of the wheel. It demands caution. So you might not be able to jump into action with something because of a need to consider someone else. Or maybe it's just the other person trying to lead you how they think you should act or behave with recent development. So taking a look back to January the 3rd, when the Mars retrograde and Pluto in Aquarius locked in to their most recent opposition, which was the second of the 3 hits. It happened at 1 degree of their respective signs. It signified a lot of uncertainty. Ideas are swirling, energy was building, action was stifled, and it was kind of a time of lack. Whether it was lacking confidence, lacking clarity, lacking a solid plan, or lacking the actual needed resources. And now, with Mars direct confronting Pluto, once again, the circumstances have shifted. The confidence, the clarity, the resources that were missing before are now available, or they're close to being available. The pieces are falling into place. But with this powerful alignment comes a reminder to be aware of the domino effect. Every move you make now has the potential to set off a chain reaction. While you're finding yourself in a stronger position to act, you must still consider the long-term consequences of your decisions, not just on yourself, but others who you intermingle your life with. It's that red string of fate that runs from you to others that you are connected with, whether that's chosen or otherwise. So this is a time to move with full awareness that each choice carries weight and that it can lead to very far-reaching impacts. So make sure that with this chain reaction, you are impacting and you are creating ripples and this domino effect, that you're doing it in a way that is correct and that you agree with. So this week, a recap, because all of that was a lot and it was heavy. And this was, big escalation building. This week is a beneficial experience materializing, one that you may have first become aware of back in January, and you are now challenged to see if you will handle it in the way that you said you would, while still being cautious of the expectations that others might put upon you when they kind of learn of and realize your blessings. Make sure that as you feel comfortable in this stabilizing position, you do not let people drain you or take from you. Maybe celebrate or enjoy the benefits coming your way in private. Win the lottery and tell nobody. Move house and only let the people know who need to know. Take your relationship to a serious next level without posting it on social media. Ultimately, the challenge is to maintain your boundaries and not let the excitement of your success lead you into oversharing, succumbing to the expectations of people who want you to take on more than you're comfortable with. Please keep your success to yourself for a while. Enjoy it quietly before making it public. This gives you the space to bask in the growth without unnecessary pressure. And also remember to balance independence with consideration. Do not rush ahead without considering how your choices might affect others, especially those you choose to spend and share and intermingle life with. But in the name of balance, don't be overly people-pleasing too. Take a moment to just absorb everything for this week ahead, because it's really something. It's the confusion of all the retrograde aspects coming clear. And in learning how planets move and interact in these repeating patterns, that's when everything makes sense. Clarity, it's knowing how to track these aspects that allows you to wake up and check your chart, get a sense of what the day may hold, not in a kind of anything could happen kind of way, but in a focused, specific way. And if you want to be able to do this self, read your own chart, read someone else's chart, or just to be able to catch any future developing cycles like this one that was from January through to April this year, so that you can follow the story and understand when it's going to come to a crescendo. And this gives you answers about when you will get the things that you know are coming your way. Then the episodes being posted to my Patreon may be for you. I definitely did not learn astrology linear, and I credit that abstract process for my ability to extract the more specific astro analysis compared to pop astrologers who sometimes just recite the same thing every week or every month. So I'm releasing episodes that are geared towards helping you learn to read astrology yourself. And they're organized in a way that I wish existed when I first started out, with each tier designed to meet you where you are. So the free tier will always contain the weekly general forecast, like today's episode. With the monthly Patreon tier, you get the regular episode plus full-length sign-specific episodes at the start of each month, in-depth breakdowns and predictions, full horoscope readings, midweek transit updates, and then Fridays are for education. I'll be releasing episodes that break down astrology topics in a deeper way so that you can build your understanding over time and read your own charts in the future. There's a VIP tier that is everything from the monthly tier plus a live stream Q&A where we meet personally on Zoom and we chat as a group, asking and answering questions and just, meeting within a like-minded community of people. And finally, the premium VIP tier, which is brand new and it's for people who want high level personalized access. So you'll get everything from all of the other tiers and you receive a monthly insight forecast into your specific chart. So I guess it's like having me on retainer and you get to ask one question for particular clarification. My favorite thing about this tier is that it also includes monthly stock market write-up and readings. Similar to how back in July 2024, I did this USA analysis episode and predicted an economic trade war coming May of 2025. So earlier in January this year, I went and shorted a few stocks, which actually turned out to be a great success this month with all the tariff impact on the stock market and the crash on April 2nd, which made me money on those shorts because of that retrospective information back from July of last year about there being a trade war. I'm in love with patterns and cycles. I think they're so wildly fun. I think they're kind of addictive. And so if you like patterns too, and if you're good at pattern recognition, or you just want to see more patterns than you currently see, especially in financial astrology, and how that connects to market patterns, the premium tier might be for you. All of this goes live Monday, April 28th. That's when you can sign up. Whether you're just curious or whether you're building a daily chart checking habit, or if you're ready to really, truly study the deeper patterns that shape your life and make them work for you. So for this week, each horoscope is time-stamped below for your convenience. And make sure to listen for your sun sign, your rising sign, and your moon sign too. This week for Aries, you can feel like a spark of excitement, but it's private. So there might be a sudden behind the scenes opportunity, something that comes to you through social contacts or another collaboration. And it's nudging you to make a shift, but make the shift quietly. And there are a few supportive friends that are there for you with these private matters. There could be big breakthroughs in therapy, massive benefits made from rest or some kind of healing development where you're creatively lit up. You're kind of surprised by all of these gains, these benefits coming forward, these leaps and bounds that you didn't see coming. And there's influential conversations with friends or groups that help you shift your mindset, feeling mentally charged by your peer influence, feeling the weight of a truth revealed, or feeling noticed when you speak up. Financially, there are some indications of unexpected purchases, but these purchases benefit you in the long term, so it's easier to call them an investment. And there's a tug of war between fun and finances, where personal spending clashes with your desire to spend. So you might want to spend in a way of expressing yourself, or spend on hobbies or fun and dating. So you might have this sensation that your resources are being drained by passion projects or competitive activities. You might compare your financial decisions to people in your peer group. And this can leave you feeling exposed financially if you are comparing yourself with others, or if you're feeling like you have to defend your worth. Resist all peer pressure and comparison around financial things this week. And though you may mentally feel the pinch between short-term spending and long-term goals, The conflict between saving and spending is just a temporary one. A private relationship or an important relationship for you could face restrictions due to your professional responsibilities. So your career, your work, your hours, your schedule, your just responsibilities in the professional space, the things that you are required to do, even if it's not professional, your daily errands, whatever it is that it takes to keep your life running, requires a lot more from you. And so there might be this feeling of having to give something up in order to get ahead, whether that's professionally or just personally. And if there are romantic happenings, if there are any romantic situations in the mix, jealousy or even some kind of rivalry might show up in connection with impulsive actions, and there is a need to balance passion and control. And with all the changes in your relationship sphere, with all the control dynamics bubbling up, with all of the conflict between deep desires and tension possibly showing up in ongoing dating or even new dating, both existing relationships and potential relationships are not immune to the current challenges this week. If you feel the need to get ahead of this, if you feel the need to identify potential problems, to nip things in the bud, this is stuff that is available to see and witness in your natal chart. The space in your chart that pertains to relationships is going to be house 5 and house 7. So looking at the signs on those houses and the rulers of those signs, where those rulers are posited, any aspects to those rulers natally and or transit wise, you can get an idea of dates and times to expect changes, to expect the heat in your romantic situation, the pull between passion and power to increase. And if you want an easier form of access to those dates, go ahead, click the link in the show notes below, book a date and time. We can get together with your natal chart and figure out the specific moments of decisions pertaining to your responsibilities and your personal ties this week. For Taurus this week, you feel like you're stepping into the spotlight unexpectedly. Even if you try to hide, you're not going to be able to. We're moving into Taurus season. This is your personal branding, whether that's branding of yourself, your business. This is just a change, a development, an evolution of you. There's a surprising wave of encouragement. So support from friends and allies really boosts your confidence and visibility. And maybe even one of those friends or allies points you in a new direction. So a friendship, a new or old friendship, leads you towards a shift in your career path or reputation. And for this, you may feel the need to freshen up your image, to update your look, to enhance your style, especially if this opportunity is a dream that very much aligns with your gut decision. There's still a need to strategize in silence, or at least you're going to want to keep some information private for reflection, especially when it comes to making professional moves or a professional decision. And that's because you notice there's a very powerful undercurrent in like public dynamics that you therefore mirror. There's this behind the scenes situation going on in the world. You know, we are kind of in uncharted territory. And this mirrors some behind the scenes situations going on for you. The quietness reveals what needs to change. So, yes, internal processing definitely reshapes how you relate to professional relationships or contractual relationships, relationships that have a give and take or shared agreement. But don't hole away too much. The pressure to maintain composure is about stepping into a public, visible position while still maintaining your private thoughts, as long as those private thoughts are not creating internal tension. If there's too much internal tension, then a mentor, where someone's mentorship, leadership, therapy, or they're just quiet words stick with you. Kind of seeking an outside opinion or borrowing someone as a sounding board can help this week when feeling torn between your autonomy and emotional security. It's the assertiveness clashing with the need for peace. It's the push to act independently that also somehow stirs some inner hidden tension. And it might be that this sense of urgency is building inside and suppressed emotions that start affecting how you show up outwardly. So, some tension between personal goals and professional expectations brings you to a deep transformation that is actually just a breakthrough. So, inner drive conflicts with how you're seen by others leave you feeling caught between continuing to show up and maybe being taken the wrong way, or staying safe and pulling away. There's this self preservation, an urge for you to control your own path, a strong need for you to push through limitations in your career or with your social role. And your self image is tested by the very changes that are going on in the world. So this week, you may feel cautious about who you trust. New and existing friendships are measured against long-term ideals. And a dream that you have may be filtered through some realism, where personal goals face a few restrictions or require a bit more patience. You evaluate your connections based on meaning, not convenience, making sure that you feel both supported by the people around you and motivated. And if you are feeling protective of your space, if you are feeling an emotional fire rise from the roots, if you are feeling pushed to make a decision between this or that, then answers and assistance is available to see in your natal chart. The natal chart is literally the kind of what I would call movie script of your life. And I would liken it more to particularly the movie by the series Black Mirror, the movie Bandersnatch, I think it's called, where as you watch the movie, you select whether the character goes with option A or option B. Because decisions are really the big differentiation of what happens in your life, in everything. And so, with a bunch of big decisions coming up ahead, maybe a private look at your natal chart can help you further shape your long-term visions based on the story that the chart tells. Click the link in the show notes below, book a date and time, and we can go through this together. This week for Gemini, you feel pulled in a new direction. There are decisions that are guiding you. There are choices that are showing up, and it's this subtle intuition, or it's this spiritual insight. So it's something that you can't see. It's something unconventional sparked behind the scenes that is pushing you towards this secret or hidden opportunity. The most clarity shows up in solitude. It's a private shift, a private decision that you make without the noise of the people who think they know best for you. It's with discrete personal growth that you align the best with your long-term aspiration. And it's great because, yes, this week shows a lot of insightful conversations within groups. And these conversations reshape your worldview. There are lots of big ideas circulating in your close circles. And actually, your friendships and groups become a source of intellectual transformation, especially if there's a shared belief system between you and others. Connections spark deeper thinking about your work, about your purpose. And the correct words, the right words said at the right time, happen to be very moving. And the more information you absorb from other people, it changes how you think, feel, and communicate. But ultimately, your sharpest decision of alignment is made on your own, by yourself, in solitude. And this is really where tension brews behind the scenes. A personal conflict between needing to rest and wanting to engage in more, feeling the pressure to say something but not really being ready to, having an urge to speak or respond and make a decision. this or that, yes or no, but maybe some peer pressure or some heavy demands, asking for more than you can give, or just external requests that are too pressured too quickly. And if you try and make a decision this week, if you try and push yourself for a decision quickly, mental burnout shows up as kind of feeling agitated. It's this mental, physical agitation. It's overthinking, it's over talking. It's the more you say, the less clear anything gets. Being in the middle of this tug of war between peace and expression. And this momentary crisis of belief or crisis of faith quietly influences everything: your work, your routines, your health, impacting the way that you show up daily, being challenged by this hidden change that you're going through. And all it really is an indication that the system you currently follow no longer fits, or you feel the weight of responsibility in your role. Your sense of duty overshadows a feeling of ease. And you're kind of faced with this idea that your long-term goals really require emotional discipline in order for you to keep your head in the game. This week, conversations carry an edge. There are words said by you or to you that spark tension, between what you thought was the case in life, that sparks tension between what you do versus what you think you should be doing. As your mind races ahead of the process, you may need to voice something now this week, speaking up about something that feels out of alignment. And to really help yourself with that friction between knowing and doing, between the desire to act on your beliefs versus resist from doing so, just to kind of philosophically reassess your everyday tasks, to look at what things like your health is telling you. As you confront this challenge and you look for more answers, some and a lot of these answers are available in your personal natal chart, where the chart just tells the timing and tempo and rhythm of your story's unfolding. So go ahead, click the link in the show notes and pick a date and time that works for you. This week for Cancer, get excited about the fact that your social circle is super unconventional. The people who are good friends or feel like good friends or just a joy to talk with are not going to look like the people that you think or thought they would be. Older, younger, different genders, different cultural origin. Your social circle gets disrupted in a good way, and you're just becoming aligned with people who feel more relevant to you and your life where it is. And within all the new, unusual connections and people and friendships, the need to evolve within a specific group becomes obvious. A friend might introduce a new idea into your life that's worth taking on board because it's set to reshape your goals. This is a week of getting sparked by the most unconventional guidance, and it's an unexpected conversation about death, debt, rebirth, and money manifestation that opens your mind. Looking at money blockages is crazy important and helpful for you this week. And speaking through these ideas in a shared group setting can transform how you think about the topic. And these discussions go deeper and they touch on risky things, depth in value and legacy. A strategic conversation influences your reputation, influences how you feel about yourself. It talks about financial matters. It relates to how you feel in your public life, how you feel about your public life. And it's your voice that carries weight in high places this week. So you can do vocal manifestation exercises where something you say hits a shift in creative or financial projects, or something you learn in a group setting, a group value, changes how you handle money and self-worth. One of the biggest messages, though, this week is tough decisions, very tough decisions around how you use your resources. It's almost indicative of whether you have a little or a lot. It's how you use it that's the most important. So when accessing more resources, time, money, energy, whatever the resource is, with access to more, if you act on desire, it causes friction with your bigger picture. So a self-test this week is to make sure that you bring 3 points of justification to any purchase you make, and then be real with yourself when judging those points of justification. There could be a power struggle in a financial shared situation. And it might be a project, it might be the value of a project, it might just simply be a loan situation, a shared matter between you and a creditor. It might be hidden fears around debt. And all of this is just testing your comfort with change. It's almost like personal spending habits, conflict with joint finances, or some kind of financial obligation. And money decisions stir very emotional tension. You might feel like you're fighting for independence in a tight space. You might feel like your drive for material stability is destabilizing other goals, other desires that you have. And it might be somebody else that actually highlights how you use your resources, offering a better strategy, or just if it's in a relationship situation or even a financial agreement situation, it might be a push back against the agreement. The way you value things is tested by your deeper motives. It's about how what you want now may or may not align with what is right for you long term. And your biggest test this week is about how you show up when financial security or financial change starts to happen. If you maintain self expression in financial power dynamics, or if you go into a little bit of impulse. Any financial blockages are directly limiting in how far you can dream for yourself. Working on your budget gives way to practical restructuring of your future goals. And if you're really interested in how money blockages work in your specific natal chart, then you would look to the placement of your unconscious Jupiter. Your unconscious Jupiter is based on the chart that is drawn 88 days before your birth chart. This is the unconscious chart, and in Gene Keys Human Design is commonly known as the unconscious Jupiter being a money blockage. Figuring that out in your natal chart and understanding the flow of abundance, whether this resource is going to be flow of time, flow of energy, or flow of literal material things. Figuring that out from your natal chart can be the most relieving situation. Click the link in the show notes below, discover your money blockage, discover your money tempo, and discover the times ahead coming that you may need to budget for or you may need to be aware of big resource-based decisions. This week for Leo, somebody else's unexpected move affects your career path. This might be a partner, this could be a family member, this is just somebody, it's more of a closer person, or at least someone you thought you were close with. It might even be changes in somebody else's finances or their mismanagement of themselves that has this domino effect in your future direction. And then you feel like sudden exposure. You know, where sharing something intimate, if it impacts your reputation, it can feel destabilizing. Collaborations are really meant to bring out the bold next steps. So any joint effort or joint investment, any connection with someone you're close to is supposed to introduce a new way for you to continue to build status and credibility. But you may actually identify something that seems to be a risk in connection this week. It may require a deep conversation, a conversation that shifts your worldview. If it's a partner or a client or someone challenging your perspective, you are pushed to see both sides of the story. Anything, any kind of matter, legal, philosophical, international, shared matters demand transparency in the partnership you're in. And what you learn through this changes how you relate in the future. And it's the most honest dialogue that helps you build trust in long-term commitment. It's not just your inner foundation that matters, but your external experience can be reshaped by how somebody else sees the world if you are deeply connected with that somebody else. So this week, you're kind of feeling driven but on edge. There's ambition pushing you into action, but friction building. Confidence surges, yes, balance is off. Career pressures collide with your independent energy. You want to lead, but it feels off. And you might feel urged to make your mark quickly. There's a desire to prove yourself outside of a situation. And this just comes off as aggressive or hasty. It's like too much assertion this week in your style or your body language doesn't sit cleanly with its application in a professional or just external world mode. And so tensions show between authority and authenticity, and what you stand for, your moral values on the inside, what you stand for internally, gets tested by how you represent. So, one of the biggest themes is really that a collaboration or partnership affects your career standing in a subtle way. But just because it's subtle doesn't mean it's not intense. And you're expected to play a role that maybe doesn't fit. And then you feel scrutinized by those closest to you. There are some sparked reactions in relationships or at home. And emotional closeness or financial closeness becomes limited thanks to work pressure or to just tons of obligation. This week, responsibilities become heavier. Your resources experience conditions or delays. And this is part of redefining what commitment looks like. When you begin to feel the weight of responsibility and duty in emotional spaces, then it's kind of this scenario where love becomes entangled with responsibility. Love becomes entangled with health, with service, and partnerships test your limits. Feeling personally challenged by someone else's intensity, assertiveness can trigger some deep emotional reactions, or there's just a power imbalance. It's so imbalanced it becomes impossible to ignore and forces a confrontation in a one-on-one dynamic. Maybe you want control, but so does somebody else. Maybe it's just independence clashing with emotional landscape of somebody else's expectations. Or maybe you feel exposed under pressure, intimate pressure, or domestic matters of pressure. These bubble up this week. And your surge of motivation to get ahead, as strong as it is blocked by issues rooted in safety, trust, or home. And so, if you want to see what emotional entanglements or financial dependencies are demanding long term structuring based on your personal natal chart, click the link in the show notes below, book a date and time for us to do that for you. This week for Virgo, you feel sparked by somebody who sees things differently. A partner or a friend's beliefs or background introduces new ideas that shift your perspective and also your daily habit. This is feeling stretched outside of your comfort zone in a very good way. A partner or a colleague encourages you to try a new educational path, a spiritual path, or just a path project wise, because they see in you something that you may not see in yourself. And this surprising insight leads to more confidence and more efficient, meaningful work pattern. So it's through an unexpected discussion this week that you alter your opinions and health mindset, feeling more open to change. And as these deep topics emerge in the workplace or your health sphere through communication, a very particularly powerful insight cuts through all of the noise. And so while you might be loaded with processing all of this complicated or sensitive information, it actually leads to improved workflow and wellness and everything. It's almost something that was secret or unspoken had been affecting how you function while it was left a secret or left unspoken. And it's like the idea that a mental or emotional backlog starts getting sifted through and sorted through, now you feel the need to organize what's been buried. Having felt uncertain whether to push forward or pull back, it's really now urging you to expand. It's very clear green light to push forward. And that the only block to expansion was inner fear or emotional exhaustion, or both, where all of your big ideas clashed with unprocessed pain or buried financial stress. And so a truth comes out, or a truth becomes hard to ignore this week. And as you look at your daily habits, you might realize that intense demands seem to undermine your freedom to expand or your freedom to take risks. It's the old daily grind that is to be changed, because exposure to unhealthy systems creates an unhealthy system in you. And if there's an obligation limiting your ability, whether it's work or health concerns that just get in the way of your pursuit, you realize that what you're learning through this is actually pushing you to change how you handle responsibilities. You feel the weight of long-term commitment, and there might be signs this week of a relationship becoming more serious, or a relationship being tested, or a relationship being redefined by values. I mean, you want something more lasting. You want something more long-term, whether it's love or any other collaboration. It's best built through mutual belief or creative discipline, depending on what it is. And so the fun might be replaced by the serious aspects of partnerships this week, romantic or just other close partnerships, as they take on a more practical, a more mature tone. So the biggest things to note are that suppressed energy will show up physically. Emotional tension affects your work, your health, how you relate to people. Internal conflict becomes difficult to hide. And so something unresolved internally might have been disrupting your ability to manage your responsibility. And as pressure builds in order to change how you deal with stress, you are forced to face habits or tasks that are just no longer sustainable. And if you feel this, if you feel like your wellness and your work are going through change, if you feel the push pull, if you feel the need to define the terms of a relationship, clear the limits, the expectations in connection with somebody who matters to you, your natal chart can help you understand and get clear on what's next in a partnership connection. A stable relationship and all the answers to maintaining a stable relationship are in the natal chart, including the challenges that need to be overcome. And now that you're ready from this week onwards to do that, to handle any pull, push between isolation and obligation, between self and other, you can go ahead, click the link in the show notes below, pick a date and time to get the ball rolling. This week for Libra, a surprising spark in your daily life might be a creative or romantic thing or risk that just comes to shake up your routine. It leads to some inspiration. You feel inspired to change how you work based on an unusual emotional event or an unusual financial event, which is just really pushing you towards healthier patterns. So it might be that an unexpected resource shows up in a crisis, like someone helps you with emotional or financial burdens at the very right moment. And just a new connection or new idea helps reset how you manage energy and vulnerability. A deep talk between you and another shifts the dynamic. It's the honest words in a relationship that leads to revelations. So follow the need to communicate more directly, speak clearly about what you need, whether it's in love or creative work or parenting, family, friendships. Because this week, conversations get personal real fast. And so something said in a partnership setting works to realign your priorities, and the truth just redefines to you what is worth pursuing. It's a week with intense focus on private matters. But this intense focus on private matters is then disrupted later on in the week by social obligations. So it's always like there are others demanding more of you than you want to give or than you are able to give. Friends, co-workers, collaborators push you into uncomfortable emotional or financial territory. And this push-pull tension causes friction. You may feel like your boundaries are being tested. You may feel pressured to be available to others in a way that drains your focus or drains your resources. And so conflicting loyalties come up between intimate and financial bonds that clash with team dynamics or friendship or general expectations, even. It's a week that feels kinda high stakes, where you feel the urge to protect your joy. The cost of pleasure or fun suddenly becomes a source of tension, and something that was meant to be an enjoyable project or situation is just more intense than expected. You begin to question what is worth giving your energy to when fun doesn't feel fun, if it's coming with these conditions or if it's coming at a hidden price. So you reassess what brings you pleasure versus what drains you. It's in the emotional discipline moments that you stabilize yourself, your workflow, your daily pattern. You handle responsibility quietly. Something at home or within a partnership adds weight to your health or schedule. It's not a glamorous week, but it's a solid week of slow, serious progress in personal emotional work, personal healing, or personal finances. It's like you step up, but you step up quietly. Behind the scenes is where you put in the effort to support your own goals and your own needs. Showing up even when it feels heavy to do so. Showing up even when group or connection dynamics push your buttons. And if you're really, truly curious about doing things differently, about how shared experiences can make you rethink pleasure and responsibility, if you're looking to preempt and be prepared for the tension between, what's generally going on collectively in your personal values and where you stand with that. If joy and authenticity are feeling compromised by economic and interactive and group demands, then you may want to reference your natal chart. Referencing your natal chart will help you discover how to invest in your joy, what is worth giving your energy to, how to positively intensify a project instead of intensification in a challenging way. Your natal chart has all the answers of the timing of your experience, of your rhythm, of when something will work out and why something may not be currently working out. And now you're ready to be prepared with dates and times and events and answers to all of the whys and hows and whens. Click the link in the show notes below, pick a date and time. I look forward to working with you. This week for Scorpio, you feel drawn to someone surprising. So it is a relationship that begins suddenly. It could be a creative project relationship or a more intimate joy relationship. And your entire at home private dynamic shifts through romance or through fun and play, where somebody else encourages you to bring more openness and more joy into your experience. It's this new energy breaking up old creative blocks where a collaboration brings you freedom to be more authentic, to feel more willing to take a risk. The risk could be in love, the risk could be in creative pleasure. And an upcoming change, a pending change in your living situation, your home situation, or family matters is the beginning of a shift where how you live consistently feels full of joy. Consistently, you feel motivated to get to the bottom of problems as soon as they arise, to not leave anything on the table, to never procrastinate. You have this understanding of your own patterns linked to home, health, and habits. And so you become this personally manifesting, organizing force where if there's an issue, you want to talk through it, you want to talk through a domestic issue, talk through any issue, and it helps resolve a persistent routine or work imbalance that had been going on, that had been affecting you privately, with private concerns affecting your public performance. It's like something from your past has filtered into your daily tasks and mental focus. And there's the need to fix what's underneath, dealing with a foundational issue. And in doing so, it clears space for better health and productivity. Hidden stress will always show up in daily choices. And so an emotional weight that has been playing out through how you work, that has challenged you, put you under pressure to perform. This is anything from a past situation or a partner's expectations, or something that conflicts with the demands of your job, your profession, conflicting goals that strain a connection or goals that are strained by a connection, leave you feeling pulled between maintaining said relationship and kind of muting it for the moment and pushing forward professionally. The quality in theme and type of connections you hold are huge in your experience. So the pressure to succeed interferes with the peace in your one-on-one relationships, or your career battles, your career problems, your career tensions, your career challenges and obstacles begin to show up at home. Maybe you feel emotionally cornered by someone. Maybe a relationship dynamic is revealing buried insecurities linked to home or family. Maybe there's power struggles in partnerships that mirror personal shifts, where somebody else close with you reflects some of the deep changes happening within you. This week generally feels like facing something from the past in the most productive way. A relationship situation surfaces some unresolved tension that's rooted in your upbringing, and home becomes a pressure point for clarity. You are changing fast. You are changing very, very fast. And inner transformation meets outer resistance, where maybe somebody else resists your evolution. This might come with a reality check in love, if there are limits around communication and time, or some kind of proximity test in your relationship. Or it might just be you feeling driven to produce something of value, so you're having this tension within yourself. Or maybe it's possibly linked to a long-term professional work partnership. And a bond has the potential to mature and find clarity through shared efforts and valid boundaries. There's a seriousness to the element of joy. So creativity, dating, or pleasure, it takes on a more committed tone, a more practical focus. And really the biggest thing this week is an internal shift erupts outwardly when a buried emotion or family issue fuels your assertiveness and your ambition with work. So if you are feeling the pressure to prove something, if you are finding that career tension pulls against your internal emotional clarity and safety, if you feel pushed to defend your progress, if there are emotional or family triggers causing tension around your ambitions, if what you need to feel safe doesn't align with what you're expected to achieve, you can regain your sense of personal stability by visiting your natal chart. Information and feedback from your chart will always change how you approach the challenges and the positive opportunities in your life, giving you a list of timing and tempos and really acquainting you with your own rhythm. Looking at your natal chart can show you how and why sometimes a decision can or cannot be made. There's a right timing for everything, and if you are ready for your right timing of discovering what your natal chart has in store for you, what this journey you're on is all about, and the next biggest decision you're going to have to make, and what those decision options are, click the link in the show notes below. Pick a date and time that suits you for us to work through your reading. This week for Sagittarius, feel much more ready to make your home life work much better. There is an idea or conversation that sparks a change in how you structure your home life or your home routines. There's maybe a surprise in your schedule or a surprise in your life in general that works to change your living situation. And a shift in your general life leads to an unexpected improvement in comfort or location, where you feel freer at home, where you tweak your routine, and there's a breakthrough in organization that just creates this emotional, physical space of peace at home. And this could be a conversation that leads to domestic inspiration. It could be communication that opens a new path. It could be learning of something, a fresh insight or a shift that alters your home life. It's small changes that spark big improvement. And as the air feels very ripe for expansion, You may feel drawn to saying things that you've been holding back. So, an idea or a truth that's been hidden in your subconscious, you may get the chance to express it creatively and directly. Or a buried thought becomes a breakthrough. Something unsaid comes out through writing or speaking, and you feel that your words hold more weight than usual. It seems like what you say affects others more deeply, especially when it's about personal situations or taking a risk. And as lovely as this desire to grow and explore and expand is, it may clash with responsibilities or work demands, where you feel caught between routine and inspiration, and just this urge for freedom might momentarily disrupt your focus, to the point that day to day tasks become harder to manage under the pressure of big dreams. So try to automate or pre prep a bunch of your most challenging or boring errands and tasks this week, because you feel like the grind limits your joy. Your work life balance is tested by a big craving for creativity, pleasure, and escape. You feel like your pursuit of adventure is getting delayed by your duty of responsibility, and you want to go ahead and just chase the meaning of life, but obligations get in the way. And this can feel mentally overloading, especially if intense or compulsive thinking patterns affect your energy, health, and productivity, where these thoughts are creating tension in your body and inner pressure builds and affects your ability to show up to your day to day things. And this is the week that subconscious issues emerge through communication breakdowns with others, where you have some serious, just ships that pass in the night, miscommunication matters, or even worse, possibly some physical symptom. If a lot of miscommunication or a lot of physical symptoms show up, this might be your mind pulling you into the past. This might be mental habits tied to old wounds that are interfering with your current efficiency, just showing up to show you what you're avoiding. There seems to be a lot of weight behind what you're building. Family, home, emotional grounding, all of those things require long-term commitment and daily consistent effort. And while you're driven to create emotional security through structure and focusing on making your space or your family more pleasant, sustainable, there might be a financial or physical limit that shows up at home, where a boundary or a constraint around resources affects your living environment. This might be down to the daily choices that you make with your resources, so how you spend your money, but also how you spend your time, how you spend your energy. And by getting those things rooted and aligned, there's the indication that a home commitment solidifies. So this suggests something long term related to real estate or family. It becomes an official move or an official situation or just something more serious. A few arguments or debates this week simply bring up what has been buried beneath the surface. And if you feel tested on whether your ideas are holding up, if you feel tested by intense mental, emotional challenges, if there's something you've been avoiding acknowledging, it may now become impossible to ignore. And now there's a truth that you maybe didn't want to see expand and get loud and take root, but you've decided that you're ready to get serious about the long term potentials of your future. A lot of timing is available to see in your natal chart, the timing of when, why, and how. For all the biggest when, why, how questions that you have, the answers are there in your natal astrology wheel. Click the link in the notes below, book a time that suits you. This week for Capricorn, you may be feeling really curious about something exciting, like a spontaneous idea or an unconventional idea, a unique idea. And the conversation about said idea opens up a very creative opportunity. If this is not creative, it might be romantic. And there's this kind of feeling that pleasure shows up within the unexpected. Maybe a little bit of flirtation, or if not the romantic direction, it's a project that brings a financial surprise. with a message that leads to creative freedom. It's giving me this idea that a light-hearted interaction sparks some self-expression or motivates a risk that is worth taking, and a valuable idea that you are currently thinking about changes your approach to money. This is a week to get serious about money and roots. A financial issue tied to the home becomes clearer, and a private conversation changes how you view your resources. So, this week you'll be talking about long term goals or values, and in this conversation or these conversations, something hidden becomes revealed. And it's grounding. You feel grounded by this revelation after addressing the need, after sorting through a concern and clearing mental and material clutter. It's like a buried truth had been affecting your sense of security, and so something shared, even though it seems to be shared quietly, positively affects your earning and spending priorities. You're in this really foundational change point where you're ready to redefine what stability means. And this supports long term goals and material clarity, with just a slight inkling of pressure between desire and deeper entanglement. This is something that gets complicated with emotional ties or financial ties. So, pleasure clashes with control issues. So, a creative risk runs up against fears about security, or family stress, home stress interrupts joy, where like a deep rooted emotional dynamic gets in the way of, fun or intimacy. Or maybe a creative goal brings up an old fear, where taking a risk feels super exciting, but it also threatens your sense of control. You might feel like what you want comes at a cost, an expensive one, a cost of something personally, intimately, not just financially. And there might be a personal desire or a romantic moment that activates hidden emotional or financial tension. Later in the week, you are caught between fun and obligation, between pursuing joy or creativity, and that clashes with the pressure to contribute or to stay on a material track, where just the desire to express yourself challenges long term plans, and creative energy or romantic energy runs up against some kind of financial expectation or some group expectation. And so part of this week might be you negotiating between this and that with some other people. And this is full of tension between personal fulfillment, making sure that you feel fulfilled in this negotiation, and, between that and the general shared priorities of the group, where maybe at one point what you want isn't quite aligning with group pressure, any kind of friends or network collaborations. It seems to pull against your vision of something. But you feel very serious about your perspective, and you feel very serious about what you're saying, and you want to take a structured tone around this discussion. So structuring a creative idea, or structuring, the organization of whatever the most potent idea is that you've got going on, and coming to the table with some light-hearted planning or some light-hearted timelines or proposed rules might be the most helpful when you're in a conversational dynamic with others and maybe feel weighed down by what you think you can't say. Communication might tighten a lot this week. And instead of trying to verbally define or restrict information in communication, if you come already with that kind of light-hearted planning timeline rule layout, it might be easier to handle any of those joint investment, joint money, or intimacy conflict moments. So if you find that old power struggles are resurfacing in financial matters and money and security is becoming a battleground, if you feel like there's something you want that's deeply at odds with group expectations or friendship expectations, if there's this clash in desire to control with what is best for a small collective's needs, and you're in this moment where a pursuit threatens to destabilize long term plans because something is triggering disagreement, then a lot of this is visible in your natal chart, where you can pick out dates and times where you can see decisions that are upcoming ahead for you. There's nothing better than being extra prepared for a decision that you didn't know was coming. It kind of just removes some of that natural anxiety if you have this almost half expectation. You can prepare in this way by using your natal chart. Click the link in the show notes below, pick a date and time that suits you, and we can go through this together. This week for Aquarius, you feel inspired by small comforts. An unexpected shift at home leads you to more pleasure or better self-care. A change in the household affects your values, so something shifts in how or where you live, and it redefines security. New income ideas show up, and this might come from personal insight, where you connect a fresh idea as a potential material solution, and you feel more flexible with what you own. And this might be thanks to a surprise in your living situation that motivates a new approach to resources. Some kind of personal breakthrough that is tied to family opens up your income potential or your achievement of comfort. Your voice holds more weight this week, so you may say something that changes how you're perceived. It's like you give this casual comment and it carries deeper authority or deeper intensity than you expected or even intended. Thoughts and words are reflecting a serious inner change related to your career. So when you speak, you feel the need to speak with impact. You're no longer content with surface level, superficial interactions. You're here to get to the point. Your communication is a pivotal point in reshaping your path. Something to do with your voice is very vital for your future, and speaking honestly or boldly alters the way you show up and how you lead. Also, this week, there might be tension between home and others, where a family situation creates friction with a partner or a close collaboration. Domestic priorities interrupt your connections. You want peace at home, but you keep getting pulled into changing plans. So you feel pulled between your needs and the needs of others. And there might be a partner or someone close to you whose words or actions stir up pressure at your emotional core. It's like someone close to you challenges your sense of comfort. Their pace or their demands don't match your private rhythms. So conflicting priorities disrupt peace. Home security and partnerships push and pull against each other. It's almost like you feel like your roots are being rewritten. A foundational part of your life demands transformation as your identity shifts. This is a personal evolution challenging your comfort zones. You're growing fast, but there is something in the past that's still pulling at you. You feel pressure to change where you come from. Your identity and your image are kind of outgrowing what was your early environment. And so you yourself clash with your past while in the process of trying to move forward. And it's this deep personal change that causes friction in your emotional or family life. So power struggles may show up at home. Someone might try to define you based on who you were, who you used to be, not who you are now or who you are becoming. If you feel pushed by someone's intensity, then a power dynamic in a close relationship will hit your sense of identity. Your autonomy is challenged through conflict. When someone else pushes you to assert who they think you are. And then you feel this need to reclaim control. Personal growth meets relational resistance. And who you're becoming, what you're becoming, is not easy for everyone to accept. A close connection this week triggers some big, big self-awareness. And you can see this in the way that someone treats you. You can see their focus and who they think you really are and decide whether or not they are the kind of support you need. This week is about grounding in the change of your structured self. And as you feel more grounded in who you are becoming and how you are changing, there can be the sensation of adjustments and restrictions financially. There might be a budget or a financial limit tied to the home that needs your attention. It's like comfort comes with conditions. You have to work harder or you have to sacrifice something this week to feel secure. And any pursuit of pleasure, any date night, dinner night, or night out is something that you feel like you must earn. Emotional and financial security becomes a quiet responsibility this week. And if you're really interested in the progression of your stability, where stability is the goal, it's not the reward. If you're curious on how pleasure can get restructured into something slow and lasting, and you want to know how satisfaction around home, material values, and relationship values comes with, efforts or challenges or restraints, or how to capitalize on the positive tools and rhythms in your life, all of that can be extracted from your chart. We literally siphon the information of how long a situation is going to last, why it even happened in the first place, the start, the middle, the end of any challenge or positive opportunity, so you can circumvent or capitalize on it. To go ahead and do that, click the link in the show notes below, pick a date and time that suits you. This week for Pisces, you might feel like changing up your style. Just experiment with a new look or a new way of expressing yourself. This can spark fresh conversation. And this might come from an unexpected message that shifts your self-perception. So a conversation with someone or a bit of news, some kind of news, shakes up how you see yourself. And you feel freer to speak your mind. Maybe thanks to some surprise interaction that makes you realize you don't have to hold back anymore. You run into someone or communicate with someone about something that brings a private realization to light. Your personal image inspires the way you present yourself, and it leads others to approach you differently. This week also brings a hidden motivation behind a financial decision. There is a subtle pressure or a buried belief that's affecting how you handle money. And a private realization changes your priorities. So something you've been keeping quiet has been influencing your material goals. And you may feel compelled to speak about this thing that is usually unspoken. This could be topics around loss or debt, or spending habits of the past, or anything to do with the way you think about security. The most mental clarity on these material issues come from stepping back from the noise. It's a space that helps you reassess how you're earning and spending. And it might be that an ongoing belief in the world of resources and material matters has actually been costing you. As you have a conversation with someone else, a moment of honesty shows that something has been on your mind or in your habits that's been influencing your financial choices. But as you spend time thinking about these things, you may become overwhelmed by too many tasks and too much thinking, thanks to a packed schedule or just generally the effects of overthinking and how that impacts your workflow or your health. Something you say or something you hear creates friction around your routine, around what you value, or any matters of daily stress truly begins to show up in your body. The pressure of errands, the pressure of messages, the pressure of deadlines. It all starts to affect your energy or well-being. And if you're feeling pushed to act fast without time for clarity, if you're feeling like you're juggling responsibilities and you're unsure of which ones actually matter, if you're feeling like words and actions don't match up, this is all showing you that there's a misalignment between your communication and your intention and how you manage time or money. It's like there's a big fear that gets triggered by something small, a simple conversation or thinking about a simple matter from the past. Feeling like you're fighting an unseen pressure. There are quiet psychological patterns that are clashing with your day-to-day interactions. And you notice more and more how internal narratives shape what you say and how you say it, which is really important when you realize that you're trying to move forward, but there is something on repeat. There's some kind of like loop at play, some unconscious loop that keeps pulling you back. This week comes with a decision to be more reserved, and being more reserved pays off. You're more selective in what you share, and it improves your credibility. You're more selective of who you share with, because not everybody's a friend. You feel a need to mature in how you present yourself, to be selective. Take an inventory of the company that you keep. Friendships affect how you feel about yourself and how you carry yourself. And this week you become super aware of how much influence your connections have on your confidence. So if you feel like you're fighting battles that no one else sees, if there's stress building up behind the scenes, and you think it's starting to show through the cracks of health or work, if there are unresolved tensions that spill into your routines, disrupting your day to day, then you can prepare better to handle stress. Stress is changing whether you like it or not. And it's your handling patterns, the way you handle things, that challenge or support your actions. If you feel like something big is trying to break through the cracks, it probably is. And the timing of its breakthrough will be visible in your natal chart. Looking at the natal chart can load you up with dates of events to expect, moments of important decisions, and the reasons why things are happening, the way they're happening, and how long they'll be happening for. Now you're ready to figure out this timing, go ahead, click the link in the show notes below, book a date that suits you, and we can get your timeline ready. And that's it for this week. Don't forget to be ready to sign up for the appropriate Patreon tier that you require. And until next week, bye.